May 2026. Now, for those who will say they weren't earning anything, I just started then, I was trying to send out messages to our groups to remind other clients to join. So that's why, it's like you weren't earning anything for a period. But now we are very much alive. Please, some of us have our video feed on. Kindly put it up so that it does not draw back our internet and affect our bandwidth. We really appreciate that. All right, so today, 7 a.m. some minutes ago, 12 minutes ago, retail sales was released from the United Kingdom. It came out bad for the British pound. We'll see the effect on the British pound pairs this morning. And then the other key events today, we have core retail sales from Canada. So we check the Canadian dollar pairs and how we can prepare ahead of this news. Though it's medium impact event, but combined together, two events, we may still get some volatility. And 3 p.m. later today, we have the revised UM consumer sentiment, which is from the United States. Just a second. All right, let's proceed. So let's go over to the charts. So I'm checking the dollar index. Now, the dollar index has not been moving well in the last couple of days. We had a fake out here on the daily time frame. But then overall on the daily time frame, I can clearly see a downtrend on the US dollar. That's a downtrend. And like I said, this is actually a fake out. So what our candlestick show now is this rejection candle, which you can see right there on the daily. So technically, we'll still look for a bearish movement on the dollar. Somebody saying you cannot hear anything. Is that true for everyone?
No, we are hearing you very well, sir. Good morning.
Okay, others are saying they can hear me. So that person decided, fine, please check your device. All right, thanks for the feedback. So we are still going to expect a bearish movement on the USD CHF and other major dollar pairs where the dollar is the base currency. So this is the USD CHF, and it's having similar structure to what we saw on the dollar index. This is it right on the weekly time frame. Price is equal in the downtrend. And if you take it down to the daily, it's having exactly the structure we have on the dollar index. You can see price, touching the high point right here, higher low, higher low. And we have a slight touch here, the tip of the candles and the recent one. So, and yesterday candle also closed as a rejection candle. That's this. So technically, we're going to be looking for a bearish movement on the USD CHF. So we'll take it out to 4 hour again. Now on the 4 hour, this is what I'm seeing on the 4 hour time frame. I'm seeing a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder, and that might lead to a bearish breakout, all things being equal. And the thing about head and shoulder pattern is that the same way it is on the 4 hour, it's equally very valid on 1 hour also. So we can see on the 4 hour that, like I said, this is a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder, and the next wave of movement is a bearish movement. And if we take it down to 1 hour, like I said, it's still the same thing. So this is it on 1 hour. It's still the same shoulder, head, second shoulder. Now we can clearly see that price has actually broken out below the lower trend line, which is also closely acting like the neckline, but we have a minor support zone here. So if price is able to make a clear break below the support zone, then that's when we'll see the bearish breakout, shoulder, head, second shoulder. That's done the head and shoulder pattern. What we're waiting for now is a major breakout downwards. Now, this breakout can happen before the release of the data in the afternoon. The data in the afternoon will come by 3 p.m. That's still very, very far away. So in the course of maybe this morning session, anytime soon, if we can see price breakout below this box, you are free to take a sell on the USD CHF. So let's check out the proposed target price could get to. Price could get to Fibonacci 50, and that's the most realistic level we will have price get to. Price will also get to Fibonacci 61.8 and possibly 70.6. But to be honest, 61.8, 70.6 can be subjective today. More so today is Friday, is the end of week, but 50 looks realistic. So again, we have a shoulder, our head, a second shoulder breakout, and price may go straight to 850, and that could give as much as about 17 pips. That's if the entry is Fibonacci 38.2, that can give as much as 17 pips. But then if the volatility is strong today, it may proceed to Fibonacci 61.8, and that will mean a drop to the tune of about 33 pips, and Fibonacci 78.6 as much as 70. But like I said, the levels that is much more possible for price to get to is 50, based on the fact that today is Friday, and market volatility will play a big role in that. But overall, our trend for the USD CHF is a bearish one. A very bearish on the USD CHF. And similarly, we'll definitely have a bullish outlook on an instrument like the Euro USD, since it's an anti dollar pair. So for the USD, Euro USD, it's an uptrend. So whichever one you feel like trading, what I don't suggest is buying, or sorry, selling Euro USD CHF and buying Euro USD. Just pick one, or whichever one gets triggered first out of the two, you'll be your focus. So for the Euro USD, we have an overall uptrend on the daily time frame with a rejection candle. Technically, we're looking for a bullish movement. And if we go down to 4 hour, what I'm seeing here is possibly a double bottom pattern. It may trigger to the upside. This region being the neckline. This can be a profit-taking level, and this can also be a profit-taking level. But for now, let's just look at the trend being bullish. That's the major focus. And we can take it down to 1 hour again. It's still same setup. We still have it as a double bottom, which will trigger to the upside. We can draw a trend line to capture the breakout. We have a falling wedge pattern. If price breaks out here, definitely that will trigger a bullish trade. Like I said, we may look at just using the recent high as profit-taking levels. Definitely we expect price to target this area. Somebody saying my voice is not audible enough. Mr. Idifang, I think you should check your device. Others can hear me very well. You're the only one complaining. Please check your device, Mr. Idifang. Probably you should log out and log in again. So that's a projected price level that expect price to get to today, and that could give as much as 33 pips. If all things being equal, price is able to make a breakout. I think we need to refine this also. We have a minor resistance up there. The price is able to make a clean break above that resistance. Conservatively, we're targeting about 25 pips on the Euro USD. So we're bullish. We're bearish on the USD CHF, and we're bullish on the Euro USD. Now, those are the two major analyses I have for us this morning. Let me just give an update on some. Now, for gold and crude oil, a lot depends on what is happening between the United States and Iran. Now, Iran still insists on retaining some of their nuclear warhead assets, which is against what the United States wants. And that is, is stalling the peace move, or the pact to end the war, which it looks like US so much desires that the war should end now, but it looks like Iran is the one that is not ready to let go of their nuclear enrichment plan, their uranium enrichment plan and their nuclear warhead program. Now, if if Iran is able to agree to the United States uh, demand, because that's a demand from the US for the war to end, if they're able to accept the US demand, we're going to see a massive breakout in the various direction on the US, on the US oil, yes. You know, once an agreement is reached, and it looks like they're already in talks. So we need to watch out for the news today. You can read sites like investinglive.com, investing.com, and DailyFX, and many others. Or most importantly, we can watch CNN News for breaking news. Once there is an agreement reached that the war has come to an end, please get ready for a massive bearish breakout on the US oil. The inflation that we're seeing now will drastically drop. Why will it drop? Currently, there are a lot of tanks at the Strait of Hormuz unable to move, and there's short supply of crude oil globally, which as the war has progressed, has led to a spike in the price of crude oil. But once the war is over, price is going to drop sharply. And for us traders, that is an insight for us to place a sell trade. Now, take note, I did not say place a sell trade now. We are waiting for the outcome of the dialogue between US and Iran. And once price breaks, and if you want to trade it technically, you can see the trend line I've drawn. If price breaks out below the trend line after a news suggesting that the war is over, then you are free to trigger a sell. There'll be a massive sell on the US oil. And if that happens, maybe today, over the weekend, whichever time it happens, we'll see price targets the key levels. Those are areas of interest where price may target. It will be a massive opportunity for us traders to cash out, from the market. All right. So that's my view on crude oil. Today's Friday. We're not seeing anything much until there's that release of that news. That's what we're expecting. Now, if on the other hand, Iran continues to insist on not stopping their, nuclear plan, then crude oil might as well go back up. That's what will likely happen. And if they also become hostile to the American forces or start, engaging the other Gulf nations, then we may see a movement to the upside on crude oil. And that's why technically you can see price actually is at the support zone at the moment. It's not really aligning with the trend line, except price comes with the trend line, then we can look at an upside movement. But from the point it is now, it is at a valid support zone. So if hostilities, continue, then we'll expect price to break out to the upside. So we need to just watch breaking news. That's what can give us clarity as to what to do with the US oil. And gold, on the other hand, also, will likely react to all these events. But then let's check out gold first from the technical perspective. Now, for the technical perspective, I think as of yesterday, I saw gold try to form an inverse head and shoulder pattern on the 4-hour time frame. This is a key level where price has bounced off several times in the past. Price broke, but went back up here. The price is currently at that same zone. So technically, we may be expecting a push to the upside. Now, this is an inverse head and shoulder pattern, which might trigger a very strong move to the upside. And that is also based on the fact that maybe fundamentally there's a kind of hostility between Iran and the United States. This is the technical side to it. We're having an inverse head and shoulder pattern, which is a bullish reversal pattern. Definitely, if the war ends, we'll see another pattern entirely on gold. But for now, I'm seeing a strong bullish setup which means we might be anticipating the possibility of maybe some hostility. For us as technical traders at this point is to look out for opportunities. We cannot ignore what the chart is telling us. All right, so we still have that overall bullish trend. And we have an inverse head and shoulder. So technically, we can watch out for the possible bullish breakout. Now, don't also forget that technically the dollar index is bearish. So that can also give some strength to gold at this point in time. But you cannot really trade inverse head and shoulder on gold on 4 hours. I mean, that can be way too large, especially in the area of the stop loss. So we might be looking at a lower time frame, like 15 minutes, for us to look at taking an entry. So this is a 15 minutes time frame on gold. We have a falling wedge. Might be waiting for price to break out above this falling wedge to trigger a buy. Once price makes a clean break above this level here, with our RSI clearly above 50, you may look at taking a buy on gold. And if that works as planned, price may target the next recent high over there at this region. So watch out for a clean break above the recent high I just drew on gold for today, all things being equal. So we're bullish on gold. All right, so that'll be all from my end this morning. I'll take a couple of requests here and we'll end the analysis. All right, Mr. Equi Ambassador is asking about USD card, and Mr. Edifang is asking about BTC USD. I hope you will be able to hear me. I think you need to check your device, Mr. Edifang. So let's check USD card. Now, USD card seems to be very bullish. It seems to be very bullish at the moment, even though the dollar index is bearish, but it looks like possibly it's being more driven by the Canadian dollar. And don't forget, there's a news coming from from Canada this afternoon. So it's very, very bullish. And let's see something. Okay. No, the best actually is that price hits this trend line, then we see a massive breakout on the downside. But then there's also a minor support strong resistance here. Price might hit this, and we may see some retracement. It may not exactly be a reversal, but we may see some retracement if price can hit that support turned resistance. But the eventual move will be determined by the Canadian dollar news this afternoon. So if you are not on a running trade on USD card, I would rather advise you wait till the release of data from Canada this afternoon. So like I said, because of this support on resistance, we may see, and we can clearly see there is a kind of a rejection candle earlier on the 4 hour. There's a slight rejection candle here. So price may just hit this resistance and drop a little. That's what I can see for now. But like I said, the best option actually is that price goes to hit the main trend line on the daily time frame. Then we'll see a massive breakout. But for now, let's look at the short-term possibility of this instrument. So I'll hold a bearish outlook. And finally, I'll look at BTC USD. Now, BTC has been in a range in the last couple of days. It's been in a range. A range is when the market is in a sideways mode. It's neither buying nor selling. This is the daily time frame. That's the range on BTC USD. So let's go down to 4 hour and still see we have a valid range there. This is 1 hour. Okay, let's go back to daily. Let me check something. On the weekly time frame, I've had I think this kind of setup on the weekly. Let me confirm earlier on. Support tone resistance with a tweezer top. This is a tweezer top, which I said will lead to a bearish breakout. All right. So that outlook is still very valid, even though we're experiencing the range. So in other words, we'll still look for a potential bearish breakout, since that's the overall trend we are seeing from the weekly time frame. So we're going to be waiting for price to break out below this box to trigger a sell on the BTC USD. So we're bearish on the BTC USD. All right. Let me just do a little recap. We've looked at the dollar index this morning, and we're bearish on the dollar index. And as such, we're bearish on the USD CHF. We're bullish on the Euro USD. Then I looked at gold. I told you I have a bullish outlook on gold on 15 minutes time frame. For crude oil, it depends on the outcome of the meeting between the United States and Iran. Though Iran still insists on, trying to continue its nuclear warhead program, which is against the terms of the United States. But if they're able to reach, a conclusion, or they're able to compromise, crude oil will definitely drop in value. But then if there's any hostility from Iran, then price of crude oil will go up again. So that one is purely dependent on upcoming outcome of the meeting that is being held. Now for USD CAD, we're not really having the best of it at the moment until the release of the data, but we can still anticipate a potential retracement in the bearish direction for the USD CAD. And for BTC USD, I am very, very bearish on the BTC US. All right, that'll be all for my end this morning. Take care and have a great day ahead. Bye bye.